غيره وأؤمن به جل وعلا ولا أكفره وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون. All praise belongs to Allah. We praise Him. We seek His help, His assistance, and His guidance. We believe in Him and do not disbelieve in Him. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His servant and messenger. Allah sent Him, that is Muhammad, with Deen al-Haq, the religion, the way, the methodology of truth. This way of life known as Islam will rise to its proper position in this world, whether the mushriks like it or not. I'd like to begin with two little pieces. This looks like, was this article on the Muslims there in 2017 or 19 or? I can't remember the year. Right, I could. The article though, that's the picture. Right. Can you tell, that looks like a 9 up in the corner. Is that 2019? Because it's 2021. Up in one of these.
Oh yeah, it looks like a 9, yeah.
That's probably, that's 2019. Okay. I want to start though with something from my notebook. It looks like Friday, August 19th, 1983. That's August the 19th, 1983. And it has a few names here at the top, and it has the address and a phone number of Tallahassee, Florida. And then we have the address, phone number of brothers in Cleveland. And Cleveland states that this is the Mosque of Islamic Revivalists movement in Cleveland, Ohio. And this is of the same date, August 19th, 1983. Then we go down to the next one. It's called Grand Major Mosque. And that's 3947 South Drexel, Chicago, Illinois. It has a phone number. And then it has, let's say, I'll just mention the names. This place is called Pyramid Towers. It's also General Abdul, General Abu, and of course nobody would know who they were. Down at the bottom, those two addresses relate to our brothers in Chicago. This relates to our brothers in Chicago, and the names, this is when the Peace Stone Nation, Blackstone Rangers, you know, Al Rukin had become Al Rukin. You know, Al Rukin, the corner of the Blackstone, but still they got technically they would still have their names, the Blackstone Rangers, because Al Rukin is a corner of the Black Stone. So I mean, you know how colored people are. They gonna, you know, they got their stuff with them. But this Pyramid Towers was where they had just moved one of their centers to them. And this is the first time I had seen, and when I'm outside the building, I'm looking up and I'm counting the floors, and it was between 16 and 20 floors. And this is the first time I had seen black people that technically owned property like that. And when we went to the other places, They had big steel doors, and that means General Abu may be in charge of that building. And then the other one, General Abdul. You could see the way they hadn't got the full naming process yet, because they got General Abu and General Abdul. Abdul is just a prefix to the name. It's not the name. Yeah, they hadn't got that far yet, but they was on the move. Okay, I'm telling you, standing outside, I had to look up like this, and I could barely see the top of one of the buildings. And other buildings, they'd have big steel doors where you couldn't just walk up and break in. And they would have, they were structured. When you went there, you'd go and they would answer the door. Of course, you got somebody with you. And then they'd ended, this is General so-and-so. General meant that he was in charge of one of those buildings. And I went to 4 or 5 places, and the smallest one was 10 stories. And so that means these Negroes was in pocket. In fact, they possessed more physical wealth than all the other. This is 1983, and we had the Riata in Atlanta, the sports thing in Atlanta. Then that's when I first met the brothers as a group. And they had they had the basketball competition. Now, technically they won, but the umpires and everything was from down there in Atlanta. So, but they didn't take it bad, they getting called out and all that. They didn't take it, they just took it like, so I said, I like these brothers. Now, at that time, the leader was not there with them, but the higher ups, they came, they brought a team, and this one they getting ready to join the community, of Imam Jamil Alameen. They getting ready to join, and we're having talks. It has right here, we had a squat here and a squat there. That means we were all talking about this thing. So when I left down in Atlanta, when I left Atlanta, I made a circuitous route. I was still in California, so I stopped and hung out with them a while. And when you came, they had many properties, and they would show you their stuff, and they might have a couple of limousines, and this, you know what I mean? They wasn't riding around in limousines in those days, but they had them in case they need to make a presentation. So they had their limousines, and I said, they had property in Chicago. They had more property. I have never seen African Americans that possessed those 16 to 20-story building, 10-story building complex over here that they own. And the 10-story, I can remember the 10-story and the 16 to 20-story better, because I was making them as a judge. This was the tallest, and the other one was a standard. 10 stories was the standard. And of course, the steel doors, and they had physical protection. When you went there, General so-and-so was in charge of that complex. That's why I had his name, General so-and-so. That person was in charge of that complex. And he had a whole crew there, and it reminded me of some of the things that was going on before at a certain time. And this was just, they was trying to take one of their buildings, at that time, when they started out, that was the first mosque. And they was trying to take it. In fact, they did take it for taxes, and then one of the brothers went down and bought it back at the tax sale for a little or nothing. I mean, so they was rolling. That was the environment at that time. And then it goes on that they were moving from this Black Stone Ranger type, Al Rukin type, you know. I'll put it this way. Let me revert for a minute. When I was in Leavenworth with Chief Malik, Jeff Ford, he was hanging around with the Moors, the Moorish Science Temple. That was his kind of, that was his introduction to it, and that's what technically he was, because that would fit the Negro mentality a lot. Just tell him where the Wudu station is downstairs. Yeah. So anyway, that since I was at Leavenworth in around 75 with Chief Malik, and he was a very intelligent brother, and he was, I think he was in there for taking money from the government, like they give, when they started all these community revitalization programs. Well, they gave the Negro a lot of that money. So the Panthers were slow enough to take enough in California, then they took their stuff back, In other words, they gave the Negroes the money and they just signed. But in that contract, it said you have to keep account and you have to have records of such and such and such, which they didn't have. That's why Chief Malik was in the penitentiary. Would you close that door just for us? Case. So what happened was they was putting Negroes in jail and taking their property and what have you. And they gave them that money to quiet them down. Since they came from a certain background, they thought all money was good money, which all money is not good money. No, all money ain't good money, especially government money. That's why I told them, I said, if you want to give me something, you can drive by and throw it over the fence or something. But I'm not signing nothing. I'm not acknowledging that you gave us nothing. I said, so we don't want. And then my friends in Oakland, big preachers, yeah, so we're going to get this money. We're going to hook you. I said, no. I don't want no government money. And they thought I was really crazy. I said, absolutely not. I said, we believe in independence. You know what I mean? Self-sufficiency. That's where we're coming from. What does that have to do with getting money? This is the way they look at it. And these are preachers, servants of the Lord. They're right there right now. They're still there. And anyway, getting money from the government. It's new, but it's old. Yeah, it's in style right now. Getting money, writing up a proposal, right? Go down, say, boss man, we want to help the Negro, and we want to do this, that, and the other, and here you go. And the government has said, well, all right, you sure it's to help niggas? Yes, sir, boss. Niggas and Mexicans too, don't you forget now. This is people disenfranchised. Sign right here, nigga. Right, and you'll see them all on TV in 5 years for what happened to a certain amount of funds. And so if they gave 10 of them funds, they might be able to put at least 3 or 4 of them in the penitentiary. Oh, there's no doubt about it. Whatever it is, you won't see nothing happening in Negroville. You don't have to worry about that, except they might build some houses of their own in Negroville with that money. And drive, they don't drive cat, they may drive some of their cars up and down the street going through that neighborhood to somewhere else. But anyway, the Grand Major Mosque, I just wanted I was looking at some of my old stuff, and this is out of, the date book from 1983. Because I want to talk a little bit about if we were to start, let's say, around 1983 or 1980s, and then we were to look right here, the trauma and how bad that Negro felt. That was 2019. And then we were to stop right here. This is, y'all probably saw this. This is 1986 notebooks, 4 date books, 4 notebooks like this. I call it here, accordion folder missing, big victory. Now, what I want to talk about today, of course, is what we call it, a long march and what have you. This is a long march. This is from back here, 1983, to this one, to 2019, whatever it is. But that brings us from there through all. See, we talk about the long march of China. The long march of China was a long march. It was about 6,000 miles. But our long march is over a period of time. Over a long period of time. And if we use the dates here, that's almost 40 years. That's 30 years. Now you got to think about what's happened in 38 years. Let's just, because we could add the same thing to 1980, 40 years. What's happened in 40 years, right? What have we went through as a community, if we just take us? Now, we've mentioned all these types of groups. Okay, if we started off being very friendly with MSA, Muslim Student Association, if we started off being associated with Imam Jamil, if we started off being associated with Al-Rukin and all of these, if we were to just slow down a minute and just review, well, what happened to those people? Okay. If we would study Al-Rukin, they moved on them. They are brothers. You could see we like homeboys. In fact, they like me more than the other brothers because we were more alike. You can tell who you know what I mean? So when they showed us a limousine, I said, man, this is such and such here, this is that. And then they had iron. They had iron and they could use it. I guess they all been in the penitentiary 9 or 10 times. So we could drive iron together. They said, oh, Imam is, and so we, not the same, but very close. That's why this shows that and their goals were similar to ours, except the Grand Major Mosque it had strobe lights. It was kind of, on the way to Islam. It had, they call it the Grand Major Mosque, but it wasn't there yet. You would think it was a nightclub. That's what you would think. Yeah, yes, you would. You'd think it was a nightclub. But see, remember, they're making an effort. All effort is good. So we didn't come there and say, man, y'all ain't no Islam yet. Da-da-da-da-da. With all that money, with all that power, and with all that organization, they had not matured enough to deal with the government. They were dealing with the government and they knew who they was dealing with. But they was getting on, their big mistake was getting on the phone and from the penitentiary talking about the old man, Muammar Gaddafi, and all of this on the doggone phone. So they had, for what they was dealing with, they had Each general was in charge of a whole building complex, which nobody, there ain't no African Americans in the United States had the property they had. None, none, none. Not even close. Not even one building. That 16 or 20-story building they had down there, which was going to become what they was called, this is our grand major. I said, oh, this is the grand, yeah, you know, come on in. I said, hell, I don't know. But I was kind of just like joking, you know, and I couldn't tell them, well, you know, we don't go to nightclubs with shingles hanging down and stuff. But they was on the way. But now remember, there's two groups, and there's one that want to stay like what they're doing, and the other group wanting to go to Islam with Imam Jamil. And they are on the way. You can see them, and this is the time when Chief Malik had a case in Mississippi. He went down to Mississippi smoking weed. And look, if you want to miss the penitentiary, stay away from Texas and Mississippi, because in those days, they gave the same amount of time for smoke that they did for heroin and all that. They thought marijuana was the devil's creation. I mean, it wasn't like now, you know. And he got time down in Mississippi, because he's from Mississippi. He go visit his family, and he take a whole cotton sack full of smoke with him. This is insanity. I'm saying about our brothers, we do not want to overlook who we are and what we've been dealing with. So from 1983, up in the 80s, they had got them, all the leadership was immobilized. It was immobilized, right? Okay, and out of all the brothers in the United States, I would say they were the most, whatever they was doing, they was the most organized and the most disciplined. I mean, they had a structure, organization. Each person in charge of a building was in charge of that squad, in charge of that, and they acted like that. The general gave orders to the so-and-sos, they carried it out, and it was very admirable for what they was doing. Had they been allowed to move over into the Islamic slot or transition with some possibility for clarity in behavior and moving toward the Sunnah. Now let me say, we had certain squats, and that was the dialogue. We had certain meetings. And some of the brothers were already in the Sunnah. Some were headed that way. But they had the Negro police had them. I'm talking about the Muslims that you would think was really Muslim. People that I knew, they always sliding up to them, getting involved and getting around. This made me uncomfortable, but I thought they would have enough, you know. They didn't get too close because they got an organization and they down the police, you know what I mean? They down, they get to messing with, you know, they wasn't love and happiness like we are. They was, is police, you're gonna find him somewhere soon. Anyway, so we take that, and then we take a few years later, 1986. Of course, it has a schedule for running. We run Bass Cove, which is a long way. We run 8-mile run that day, Chabot run, that might have been 7, 8 miles too. And then we have Notebooks Missing. This is 86. because I slept in the Masjid, just like I would sleep in that room there. And I would have all my stuff there. I had like all the books there. I had bookshelf. I had the same setup. But then they came and they took my notebooks, 4 notebooks or date books. I might have passed. Did I pass this out before? I'm missing. Accordion folder, missing. Okay, but I put here big victory. That big victory is what we're going to be discussing today, and the evolution. See, they thought if we get his notebooks and all of what he's thinking and he get all that, and I wrote every time. Early rise, that means I'm going to get up early. And, I had a clipboard. So I'd take all my notes from the clipboard, then I would put them into a folder, And so that means anybody that wanted to know what I was doing could go, just like now, they could read my notebooks, or they could read these, which I put in a folder. And they would know every lecture. They wouldn't have to listen to that. They would know not only the lecture, but all the little side notes, that you got on there. Anyway, accordion folder missing, and I have put it right here, big victory. Does anybody remember that? Big victory. Now that's 86. That locked in what we're up against. Before we got a feel for it, now don't get me wrong, right down here at the bottom, all those same days, they got my 2 sons arrested, and one's on the 9th and the other one's on the 10th. And we're going to have a big program on the 14th, which they didn't make. And it was a big unity program, a big program to explain the Sunni, the Shia, the Masjid program. Okay, anyway, so this big victory is part of what I'm going to talk about today a little bit. The big victory, because you got to remember, you just look at the history. Just look at just a fair pursuit of general historical facts. Number one, the baddest out of all of us, including Imam Jamil, was Al-Rukin. It was more organized. It had more money. It had all of it. It had more people. In fact, Al-Rukin told me, when they was talking about when Martin Luther King came to Chicago, he said, yeah, it was 40,000 people. I was saying, yeah, it was 40,000 people turned out. He said, yeah, and 30,000 of them was us. They turned out. That's why that coon, the Rainbow Coalition, Jesse Jackson, that coon, look, okay, he's a coon. I don't care if you like him, if you don't. To me, he's a coon of the lowest quality. The shirt of, the blood shirt of Martin Luther King. I don't know where he got it, something like that, right? Rainbow Coalition. Our brother. Where Rainbow Coalition come from? Right? Rainbow Coalition came from the Black Panther Party, from Fred Hampton, and a few of the people that he had. Can you imagine how hard he had to work on the people, that he gonna go to a place and they got the rebel flag in there, and they Southern crackers, but they're poorer than Negroes? That's a big, in that time, that's 50 years ago. That's big. That's big. That's big.
Not to mention the unity of the Lord's stones and disciples, bringing the gangs together. And he was involved in that.
All of that. Hey, that's why the police had the Muslims involved in the gang unity. I said, man, all them, they had Negroes from LA. I said, them niggas is the police, man. I said, man. And they had people in the Imam Jamil's community that were actually had badges. They were the police. I'm not going to call their name, but some of them would be, you can look at it, but it's right here. I'll put an X by it. He was head of a gang unit in Cleveland or somewhere. Yes, he was. Or let's put it like, yes, he is. Now, we look at the behavior of people. We don't care what their title is. And their behavior, you know, and all the so-called quality people are bringing in the national Negro to give speeches at these things years ago and make him the leader of the gang type thing, you know. And they had Negroes, some of the Snoop Doggy Dogg them, and was all bringing, you know, the national Negro. You can see why nothing has happened in the United States. Boss man took over everything. He didn't have no problem doing it. He just killed off most of everybody, and then the rest of it, and he invented, just like it was a movie. In fact, in Panther, they have J. Edgar Hoover saying, they'll never have another Messiah unless we create him. You remember that? Yeah. And so it's a movie, but it's close to real. It wasn't no real movie because they got the dope dealers in Oakland, you know, bringing in trucks and stuff to warehouses. Don't nobody deal no dope like that. You got a warehouse over there. What you want? You want some cocaine? You want some weed, right? You can't do that. You just can't do it. I mean, you know, a real warehouse. Remember the warehouse scene? They're going to burn the warehouse and get rid of the dope. Okay, let me get back to what I was talking about. So we have here, it's 1983, like, say in the early 80s, from 80 to 83. You have here 2019, where the Negro feel bad because he's invisible. You know what I mean? You just ask yourself, nigga, how you get invisible? With all the opportunities you had, how do all of y'all jump up and just you invisible and you sad about it? It's because they gave away the Islamic platform. They gave it away. And not only did they give it away, but then they pushed, and the same ones pushing that girlified program. It ain't bad to be a girl if you're a girl, but if you're a grown man and you girl, they push this sweetie pie program in America now, up to the day, just because they came from the University of, what is it right out there? Where Mella Yellen and them went, American University. If you go to the American University of Cairo, like so-and-so did down there in the South, the one that was doing a lot of this paperwork, I think his name, Mr. Bagby, American University of Cairo. What do you know about Islam? Nothing, because he studied Islam at the University of Cairo. Or the University of, in Lebanon? Yeah, the American University of Beirut. Those used to be called the Christian universities, like in Beirut. And then they just changed the name to the American. So before and during World War I, those were all called the Christian University. And they still are. Yeah. And who hires these people anyway? Anyway, let me pick up and try to continue a little bit. What we're trying to say is the title of the talk today was The Long March, the Negro Long March. The Long March in China was 1935. Maybe they ended 34 and doing in 35. That's it. Our Long March has started back in the 60s. but it clarifies we are calling it a long march from 1979 and 80 up to now. And that long march is not a distance of 6,000 miles or 7,200 li. No, this goes over a span of history. So we want to understand where we're coming from. We're not Johnny-come-latelys. We've been here longer than anybody. And we were not dealt with in a friendly environment. Not only did we have to deal with our battles and our struggles have been gigantic all the time, every day. But we haven't acted like they're gigantic battles. Now, during this early stage, this was the learning, it's not the learning stage. We had been through the criminal experience, and let's say we had a certain amount of game, or a knowledge of how things go. Plenty of it, or we wouldn't have got here. You know, during this time, my son was having a fight out in front of the Masjid. And I was telling him, it was a guy his age and everything, now spread your legs out of that. But I couldn't get involved. I can't go and grab the guy and beat him up. He's fighting my son. I can't get involved, but I can coach, you know. And he did good. He did good. He did it. Finally, they stopped. And now, at that same time, a Negro, it was 3 people at the Masjid, a Negro, an Iranian, and a white man. So, with all this stuff going on, during this period right here, yeah, he's paranoid. I say, yeah. So that's the time when I stripped that iron off the bar, and I said, I was whacking them, you know what I mean? Because that was the stage I was in. I just evolved out of the criminal stage. You know, I just evolved out of the criminal stage. That's the way you dealt with stuff. Now, I didn't go around looking for that, and I definitely wouldn't do it now or any time. That stuff was way back in the early 80s. It couldn't have happened in the 90s, or because you evolve. But back then, it was 2 times it happened. So each time I stripped that bar, the little weightlifting bar, and they was hollering, oh, oh. I said, you stop all that hollering. You're paranoid. You're sensitive. Ain't nothing going on here. What's wrong with you? Why are you hollering? You know. The other thing that happened was very important is with our Iranian brothers that were very close by at then, and some of them, I said, yeah, they was doing this, that. He said, but they wasn't supporting me, because their policy was, if anything happens between people here, they don't know really what's going on. So no matter what the Negro did, I would tell some of the brothers, I said, man, that guy is, and then even when we was overseas at a program, some of the people is so big mouth, and there's thousands of people waiting for Imam Khomeini to give the call in America. All over African America, they ready for him to give the call. And then the revolutionary guard, Allahu Akbar, jumping up and down. And I'm telling the guys of the program, I said, you tell that nigga to shut up, he's lying. And they would say, it's okay. The guys, technically, they were saying, he's energizing the people, and the brothers don't know he's lying, and who cares? They're not going to go over there. You know what I mean? And it'll help them finish up the war quicker. This is the way they was looking at it. I'm looking at this nigga lying, talking about it's thousands of people in America waiting for Imam Khomeini to give the call. Now, that's not far from where I was up there in Oakland. You can imagine where these other people were. And those people are still around. Those people are still around. And every time they need them, they call them niggas out. They roll, like, hey, man, they roll the coons out. Some of these coons they got revolving, the roller skates, they push them out. Whenever they need them, they roll them out. But anyway, let me try to get back on track here. So anyway, we have this period, and then we have a period where the brothers don't have the savvy to keep their mouth shut about, I mean, in those days, Gaddafi was like a shaitan for the United States, right? I mean, between him and Imam Khomeini and Gaddafi, who, you know, just flipped the coin. It didn't, to them, it didn't make no anyone. We with you on that one. And they're talking on the phone from penitentiaries, which you got to remember, bigness does not always include sophistication. They were cruising along like, it's okay to talk to you, it's okay. And we got to get some resources from the old man. Okay. Now, everybody we came in contact with, including some of our very close friends, and I would say, man, the AMC ain't nothing, this, that. And I gave talks here in D.C., like this is way back in 90. And I'm saying you could imagine who I'm talking to. We are both on the stage, and I'm saying, stay away from them Saudis. The Saudis, you know, and so they just come up and say, I don't know what people is talking about around here, but da-da-da-da-da. And then they go right into Salat and what have you, and so you could learn for the 500,000th time about Salat, you know. Okay, so we know who we're talking about. These people were friends of mine. Al-Rukin was friends of ours. In fact, Al-Rukin was the closest, because the other people they wasn't as close, and they wasn't as alike as we was. That's the only thing I'm saying. And the other people, these people that we're talking about here was dedicated to what you're doing. They had to get rid of them right away. Because if you get that muscle power and wealth that they have behind any movement in America, and they're still in transition, they got enough of that gangster stuff to make those moves. They got enough of that still with them. And they got enough at the top or around the top to keep the Islamic ties. That's why they got rid of them right away. They got rid of them before Imam Jamil. They got rid of them. Niggas got to go.
They had already proven themselves because of their influence of the election. You know what I'm saying? So they had to be a target if Jeff Ford is being invited to the White House. I mean,
he did come to.
He didn't show up.
Right. Now, I don't think he showed up, but he was invited. Right. He was in those circles.
Right.
And you got to remember in those days, the Walter Washingtons and all them type of people.
Right.
Okay. That's a clear and present danger to boss man. Okay, now, we have our brothers, we have each what they were associated with, but about us, we're here because we knew what the battlefield, the lay of the land. from prior experience, we knew the lay of the land. That's why we've been able to go through every type of program. Nobody's going to take an open assault. Nobody's going to take all of those stuff. The reason we able to take it is because we were evolving. We were not the same crew now that we was in 83. We're not the same crew as we was right here in 86. Not the same at all. It's serious evolution. Because whatever we're coming in contact with, we're making an immediate assessment according to the environmental realities, right? We did it then and we're still doing it now. That's why technically something happened and it was good. All the stuff happened to us was good. Every last thing was very good. Because we were able to, we don't want to use terms like outsmart, but we were ahead of them. See, we started talking about stuff like air wars and all. That's 20 years ago. We just got here, right? The air war, psychological war, da, 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 da. And other places, when we was over there on 8th Street, we got here and this place blew wide open. People don't even know what we was dealing with, but we have all these articles, 1996 and what have you, on the 3Ds, you know what I mean? And diversion and all that. So we had an idea, if we can last for 5 years in D.C., we're going to be rolling. Them 5 years went just like that. Well, they didn't go just like that. They went, the first 5 years was really a serious learning experience. But one of the things we said when we got here, we wanted to know, first of all, which Negroes was around the Iranians, or with the Iranians, or technically worked for them. And that helped a lot. We didn't say that's what we was looking for. But if anybody came here and we found out that they just said, how you doing? We love everybody. But it was clear. It was clear what the Iranians did here. It was clear who they had Margbag Amrika and them. We remember and we learned in time exactly what Margbag Amrika's them move was with the Islamic Party before and after, you know, during its heyday. Now, see, when you're talking about 1980 and 81, you're talking about the end of the period of Islamic Party of North America and all of that, you know, in 82, 83. This period is when they taking everybody down, or everybody's on the list to go down. And we're traveling all over the United States and we're acquiring all of this information. And we remember, yeah, we studied literature with, you know, this group and that group, and we was getting the Dar stuff. And Imam Jamil had inherited the Dar al-Islam movement, you know. And they came in, and up until, y'all probably went over to see the little red-bearded guy from a few years ago from New York or Brooklyn giving fiery speeches, yeah. And he used to be Imam Jamil Al-Amin's second in command. Then they took him out right away. But anyway, he's a very good speaker and everything. And he'd been in the Dar. In fact, that whole New York crew, see, the Dar al-Islam movement didn't want people to take money for going in prisons and nothing, because money would corrupt. Can you imagine 30 years ago that they're paying, this is a medium salary, they're paying Negro imams or whatever in New York $36,000. It's like a captain's salary going into prisons. And the one I'm talking about had a badge, you know, the real big old gold badge that the police have. He was going through the check thing, cling-a-ling-a-ling. It said that he had to come back. He said, no, this is my badge. So the nigga got a real badge, you know. And then you know what you're dealing with, and so you can see. Then we were a little stricter. If you had a badge, you was the police. And what you were saying, this is what point I wanted to make. Those same people was trying to give me the reason why that the Dar al-Islam fell apart. You know what I mean? And they were trying to tell me that Sheikh Jelani came over with black magic and all that, and I'll teach you how to make voodoo and blood and all that. I said, man, the man was the police. And if right out there, when we went out there, and what's the name, his son or one of them was sitting right there, you know, giving a talk. When we went out to the Negro place, not the Negro, where, right out here, you know, the big show right out here in Springfield. That was, that was Springfield. Okay, let me keep the continuity going. The point I'm making is our long march have been a long march. We could just call it 40 years, you know. Let's say from 1980 to 2020. Yeah, that's 40 years, but it's overlap time. In that time, we done crossed every kind of barrier and maneuvered our way and survived every threat that nobody else that's here have survived. And we done survived it. The longer we be here, the easier the survival. It ain't no big deal. If you was back in 1986, that's when you still eyes getting big and getting mad and stuff. But by 1990, that's the decline. By 2000, you're on a roll. By 2010, you've figured it all out, and you're technically for 10 years you have been writing. From 1995, when we formed As-Sabiqun, we had to game. And the proof is that we're here right now. The proof is that we're here and we're not corrupted. The proof that we're here and we're not physicalized. We're not Negroized. And we are not over-challenged at all. In fact, our attitude is that boss man is in big trouble, which he is, and I'll explain it in a minute. But let me go over some of the outline, because it's the Negro Long March. First, we want to talk about human resource management. Human resource management, that's us. So there's self-management. So for me, I have early rise, physical fitness, and I'm already into this by several months already, because physical fitness. So technically, I've already got into the mode, not got into the mode, get back into the mode, where you're more diet control Ramadan and post-Ramadan. That means Quranic and Hadith study during all that period and after. And implementation. And we have here right. That means like we have all the other, old As-Sabiquns. Well, we need new As-Sabiquns now. So we're going to have to write. In order to have all that time to write, we have a new type of a schedule. Not that it don't look like it, but we've been kind of cruising and da-da-da-da-da. That period is over. And it's really over because for the last couple of months, the boss man was trying to influence things with so-called health, And I said, I ain't doing that, And pretty soon, whatever that Madley was, it goes away. Because you done said it physically and you done, I ain't doing that. I ain't wasting no time on that. In other words, boss man will have you physically hurting. And you say, I ain't going for that. Because you done went through over the last 3, 4, 5 months. It's been one little thing after another. You're a little off balance on the roof. And you're a little da-da-da, right? Everybody can see that. This last go-round, a couple of months ago, I said, you can kiss my butt, boss man. I ain't doing that. And pretty soon, all of the swelling goes out of the hands, everything that he was going to do. Because as long as you listen to it or try to solve a problem that he create for you, it's like when I was in California, I never hurt that much in my life. Up in the hills going for a run. And I said, I ain't going for this. And I came back the next morning to just walk it a little bit. Shoot, and I just took right on off running. Yeah, because he's studying you once, you can't lose. See, if I used all the psych that I had to overcome that, because I know it's not real, I know it's him introducing something, then you get the benefit. See, when you overcome that, you get the benefit of overcoming that. The thoughts and the discipline and the self-control, you get the benefit. It ain't no loss. And then pretty soon, you done evolved a little. So if he see you on the road to evolution and you're just in step 1, he'll pull it back. Because he get to step 4 or 5, he'll have that built in. You can't do nothing. So he already knows he know where you're headed. Because he's been at every corner stop. He's been everywhere. No, he already got it down covered. And you got him down covered. You got to remember, nobody in U.S. history have had a face-to-face, almost transgenerational struggle with boss man. Nobody has. They get knocked out, and they'll quit in 5 years. They got more discipline, they'll last like Malcolm or King did. They'll last a few years, 13 years apiece. But King was already tired, right? He said, man, he was already tired. He was already getting ready to, so his martyrdom saved his position. Because a few more years of what he was going through, a few more years of the Negroes turning their back on him, the war in Vietnam, a few more years of not knowing what to do. Where to go with this. He was in Chicago for an economic, But that's 68. We already did that. We was doing that in Oakland then. Without even paying attention, we just said, this is what we ought to do. And East Oakland Enterprises, can you imagine? Ain't no city in America when that many young Negroes was owning their own homes, driving their own Cadillacs, and having economic independence. That was in Oakland. And still everybody remembers that period. At least the ones that are still alive. Okay, All right. So when we came to Islam, we brought a lot with us. So what we want to really discuss is not only what we brought with us, but what we had. The ability to analyze where we are and the ability to continue to evolve. And our brothers, as much as we love them, if they knew something that you should do, they wouldn't tell you. Especially in a crowd, a lecture, they just talk to you about salat. That's it. And you say, man, what do we need? Some hidayah. And you wouldn't get it. Does anybody remember that phase? You wouldn't get it. You were lucky if you got something on zakat and stuff like that, because usually you were just going to pray yourself to death. We're not anti-prayer, but hey, man, you know, you're so-and-so, give us. But so-and-so knew who he was with. People now say, man, they done stole the community, they doing that. He knew that all the time. Right during this period in 83, when I went down, hey, man, this is so nice. Everybody, assalamu alaikum. They not with me. That's the first thing. They not with me. They mean all of them. They are not with me. And I was grown enough to know what it meant. You know, they're not with him. They're the police. And everything I told him, he co-signed. I was giving a great talk and visiting all the places around the country. I said, man, I just left up there in Iowa, and they was talking about, they asked me, how do we get in touch with the good people of America? I said, you go to penitentiaries and talk to people in prison. They said, no, we mean the good people. So I was thinking they mean the white people. They don't want to talk to niggas. And I told Imam Jamil, he said, it's not only you heard it, there's a specific, not order, but that's a part of the whole. It wasn't even ISNA yet. It was just becoming ISNA. It was still MSA coming into ISNA. He said, yeah, that's the role. So whoever we take in the United States, they have all made the wrong mistake. Nobody chose the right move. Nobody. I mean, I'm talking about for the movement, for the Islamic movement in America. Now, you might say if they would have did what we're doing, they would have been in the same shape as we are. And basically that's true. But even after they've established Masjid all over the country, and you go to them and you say, y'all done hooked it up. Now it's time to flip. They don't know what you're talking about. Oh, no, Lord. You could tell that they wasn't even thinking about flipping out there when we went to the program right out there in Sterling. They wasn't even thinking about flipping. They had the Pakistani lady there with a little old blue outfit on that had talked at Don's program.
No, they were trying to maintain what they had acquired. That was the talk. That they were trying to make sure that they were allowed to be here to keep their institutions.
They weren't trying to change. They wasn't. Basically, they wasn't worried to a whole lot about Quran and Sunnah.
No. It was about money.
Yeah, it was.
They weren't worried about money, but they were worried about losing.
What they had a nice, they can have their meetings. And for them, you know, if they was in some of the other Muslim places, you couldn't have no open meetings like that, you know, unless you was handkerchief-headed. Well, they was handkerchief-headed. But anyway, But see, they were not even prepared to support. If they got all of this, they could have a mechanism of supporting a shadow group that has the characteristics of the Sunnah. They didn't want to do that. Not only that, they didn't want to talk about it, and they didn't want nobody to even think that they was thinking about something like that. That's why you wouldn't be welcome nowhere, because just about all other Negroes got a little chance to say something out there, except us right here. And they all knew us perfectly. Okay, let me speed up a little bit. World class in implementation as well as organizational expectation. In other words, now, today, we have to have, is it a little chilly or it's not that chilly? It's all right? Just a little pinch, just a little. So what does that mean? World-class implementation as well as organizational expectation. What that technically that means for us is evolution. You know, we've been through this cycle a lot of times before. So now on the human organizational management, let's say that I got a car out there. No, it's 4 cars out there, and none of them run properly. The yellow car, I was lucky to get it here. The other car runs very nice, but it's just something wrong with it. Just a little water. Our cars don't take nothing but the turn of a little knob to make it run. Ain't none of them like, and then the car I just drove to Florida, sitting right there. Did anybody hear it yesterday? Yeah, I heard it. Unbelievable. You know when that started? When I went out of here from class the other night, and I was going to go to the store, and I started it up. So when it happens that fast, that means somebody didn't turn. While we was in here, I'm just imagining, somebody went under the hood, because I always leave the cars open so they can, get around easy. When I left this class, I went to the house, and then I went and got in the car, and that's when that car made all that noise. After class Thursday night. Yeah, okay. That means that, okay, the truck runs perfect. Only thing is the water tank, whatever it is. Okay, so what we have to do now, and I believe in the evolution of movement is that we, those who are supporters of the movement, take care, we just have a motor pool or something where I don't, see, the stuff that we're doing now, I have to move straight ahead. I don't have time to mess with the car, it don't run, so what, it don't run. But because if they don't improve, I'll do like I did years ago. You'll see me walking and I'll catch the bus. You know what I mean? And actually, they're not gonna like that. Why? Because if I'm in a car, they can follow me straight where I am. And if I'm on the bus, if I'm on the train, right? If I go across the country on the bus, right? They got to, that's different. I'm gonna be around people. And they don't like that. So if I drive, I'll drive straight from here to the store, and I'll drive straight from there, da-da-da-da-da. But if I'm out and around, hey man, they don't like that. They never have. And I know they don't like it. They can't pretend they don't like it. They can't pretend we don't want him on the bus, because I'll meet people on the bus, right? And if I go around in a circle and I get on the bus, I may get in a conversation with somebody. And I may pass them a paper or anything. You know what I mean? Or I may rendezvous with, they don't know who, they think they know who I know, but now they're not comfortable. They're not comfortable at all. They know. Did you remember that that was a movie with Will Smith when he was a lawyer, enemy of the state, and pretty soon when he was, you know what the state was doing. Now that's in the 90s. So you could imagine where it is now. You know, they could zero in on him. They could, I mean, everywhere he went. But what did they say? They trying to take pictures of him, and the guy got a hat on and everything, trying to get pictures of his head, trying to get, and he says somebody is helping him. Right? We got to find out who that is. Who's helping him? Okay. That is boss man's dilemma. There's no sense of hiding it. That's his dilemma. We've known that he's already known, and everybody know who's helping that nigga. And the reason all this banging upside the head was to make me run to my real support network. And I know that's what he did. That's why he did it. That's why I told her, you stand down, you shut up, you don't make a move, you don't do nothing. Number one, you're a Negro. Number one, these other Negroes are trained Negroes. They're trained Negroes. Just because you got to deal with boss man, he got another deal with him, and he'll make sure all of y'all wind up dead. But you'll be dead. You don't go, but you all, don't you worry about that. I know what I got to know what I'm doing. Boss man wants you to run to somebody, right? He knows if he keep pressing you, he's going to find out where is your support coming from. How come no matter what happened to you, you pop up dancing and smiling and looking around? How is that happening? An individual don't do that, is what they think. Individuals don't do that. No, they don't. According to their studies, individuals don't do that. What give them the backup to just say, yeah, boss man? Where does that come from? For them, it's backup. What is a certainty? What is a certainty? That means somebody is watching them. That's what they think. Somebody is watching them in some kind of way. The message of stability is getting through, because what you talking about? Ain't nothing happening, right? So this is their position. They say niggas getting help, and they've been thinking like that. We got to find out. That's why the stuff that happens, the stupid, they want to find out. Because, you know, if you're having trouble beyond your ability to deal with it, you're going to go get your friend. Or you're going to call, or you're going to send a message, and then they'll watch what type of help, who they are, and they feel like they'll be home free. You won't believe it, but the white man is a stupid MF. He's a stupid MF. He's the dumbest son of a gun. And the reason nobody knows it, because they never got nowhere. Whenever we got up, our gangs, our movements, they caught us at first base. Nobody ever got past second base. Nobody ever got past second base. Nobody, I'm telling you, and I would be happy to hear from whoever even got on second base. The minute you showed your colors and where you was coming from, boss man hooked up his whole team to stop you. So if you got on first base and you was headed to second, he threw you out on the way. Everybody. Everybody. That's been our history. So what we going to do, if we got a chance to look at all of that, which very few people don't get, like Chairman Fred and them, they moved on them so fast they never got a chance. All our people, they never got a chance to, you know what I mean, to really let this stuff settle in. And they never had a long march. That's the main thing. The long march teach them. That's what we're thankful for. And also a feeling of history. If you go back in history, we've been talking about the Long March since 1980s, well, technically 70s. I got up on it in 70s. Man, that was 71 when I said it. That's when I was in Algeria, and I got selected works and all that. I got them from Pete O'Neill. And the only one I kept was volume 1. That was the one with all this guerrilla warfare, and others was about big meetings that they had, plea in there. I don't want to hear that. But all the strategy, we learned it and upgraded it. We Negroized it. This is the thing. Psychological guerrilla warfare is just Negroizing warfare. We putting a colored stamp of it, and they can't beat us because we colored. They can't out-color you and you colored. They can't out-kingfish you. They can't do it. I mean, when you really Negroize it, they ain't even close. Do you know that it's been decades before they've had anybody in the FBI from way back when that even understands, and they didn't have enough Negroes in those days, so they don't even know psychological guerrilla warfare, how to punk the FBI. They got to go and have a meeting on why. What does that mean? Satirize the enemy. Why? What is he talking about? Did your mother buy you that shirt? Can you imagine the conversations? They got to discuss that, right? And one of the dummies might say, maybe let's listen to him, and then I'll tell them this is what it means. Did your mama buy that shirt? And we'll tell them about Negro history, right? But look, I'm trying to tell you, you can believe it or not. I hope you do believe it. There's cross sections and somersaults and turns that you can hook up. If the white man try to do it and he start flipping, he won't make the grasp. He'll fall flat on his face without a net. That's what happened to him, right? But the Negro has it in his ability. That's why you can't lose hope. That's what the Quran says. Go and check on, what's the name? Yusuf. Go check on him, because don't give up hope of Allah's soothing mercy. No one gives up hope of Allah's soothing mercy but those that don't have no faith. Okay. Now I'm going to get back to us again. It don't matter what they do and what they say. And it's not being arrogant. Everything we say have happened or is getting ready to happen or is coming out. Over the last 40 years is what's happening. You got to remember, we was right back then, right? That means we was right 20 years ago. That means we were correct. All the stuff we talk about now, all you got to do is wait for it to happen, because it's going to happen. Now we're in charge of us. When they say the Americans in China, we're not in charge of China. All we can do is advise them. We hope y'all do the right thing. If you don't worry. The hell to catch up with you. Like you ain't outside of history. You want to slick Allah? Go ahead, slick them. Yeah. That's why with the dumb Iranians, the dumb ones, they getting ready to have another meeting, because the ones is telling them, You got to have that meeting now because we're going to have an election in a few days, next couple, right? So if you don't get on our team now, it'll be too late. And that's the same ones that's been cutting our throat. And our homeboys is the most popular. They could win an election if they let them run. Right? But it don't make no difference. All the crews that might pull it off, we're on the right team. You got to have courage to hold out too. Like that, you can't get flighty and ready to run and change up. If you know what's right, you got to stick with it all that time. If your crew is in, you got to carry it with dignity. If your crew is out, you got to hold on with your hind teeth. Okay? That's not just advice. That's what we've been doing all along. Just pull out your notebooks and see. You know, it don't make no difference who's in and who's out. And the other thing is, we're depending on Allah. We're depending on Allah. And if we run across somebody that kind of want to head in the same direction, that's extra. You see what I mean? That's extra. So world class in implementation as well as organizational expectation. Remember the hadith? You get from Allah what you expect of Allah. That's the hadith Qudsi. And I'm paraphrasing. If you expect that Allah is going to help you, if you need help, if you deserve help, if that what you're doing is headed in the right direction, then you'll get your help. It's like yesterday, one of the brothers was saying, hey man, legally, if a tree fall in this yard or that yard, you don't have to, you know what I mean? Technically, if that tree we got, if it falls on their house, we don't have to pay for it. We didn't plant the tree. That's what he was saying. He didn't plant it, so you don't have to, you know. I said, oh no, we're not going to do that. Because that's the white man's law. Well, You remember where I said, oh no, bump that. We know the tree is on our property. And if he's good enough to go 50-50, we said that's great. We don't say, I don't have to do that. Fall on your house. You didn't pay $400,000. Look, you should have saw how they fixed that. They fixed that. It's not a shoddy job. That's the best job of renovation I saw, and it was expensive. So the guy, amigo, el árbol, the tree, I said, yeah, okay. No, he was serious, the tree, because it's going to fall on his house. We said, and you saw we made our little effort. We said, forget it. We'll go 50-50 with you. Get some of your homeboys to. So he asked me this morning, you wanted all the way in Medio, or I said, we'd bring it down in Medio, in the middle. You know, bring down all that stuff, you know, and then from there we'd take care of it. Or it'll last another 40 years or something, you know. The point is, look, we're not doing nothing stupid, nor what's illegal for us, not what's illegal for other people. Their rules don't count with us. The Islamic guidelines, the Islamic rules, right? This is what counts. That's what we're doing. It don't make no difference what they say. If we can halfway read and we see this says you can't do that, or it says you can. There's some adjustments some fiqh of clarification and fiqh of this, but that's for ourselves, that we can't go out teaching that, you know. Just don't want to be bothered. But there's things that come up that are not highlighted in Quran and Sunnah enough, and there's not even a history that we have studied of it, and so we have to hook it up. The fiqh of high expectations, the fiqh of motivate. It don't make no difference. This is the fiqh is nigger fiqh. That's all it is. It's just regular old straight out nigger fiqh, and I don't want to. I'm not going to be bothered with them people, them bookworms talking about that's not the sunnah. Oh man, I ain't gonna be bothered with you. I ain't gonna mention it to nobody either. You know, we just mention it here, but I'm not gonna be bothered. I'll know. I got enough sense to know, and all of us will as time. So this is justifiable fiqh of self-reliance. Our fiqh is justifiable, and it's the fiqh of self-reliance, right? Not the Quran, not the Sunnah, right? It may not be in history. A lot of stuff we're dealing with now is not historical. And we can't reach back into that history to figure out what to do. But we have to pack all that together, and we have to come up with what it seems, and we can't be cheating. Well, I said, I like this here. This fiqh say you can't go with white girls except on Saturday afternoon. And we ain't gonna fix nothing like that. You know what I mean? Where this is what we wanted to do all the time, and therefore we're gonna do that, you know, under the guise of Negro fiqh. Right? That's what other people would do. That's what I meant yesterday. I don't care what he don't have no jurisdiction. He don't have to do nothing. I don't care. We're going to take care of what we feel is our human responsibility. You know what I mean? And the tree is on our side, and it's not on his side, and it's hanging over his. So we say, hey, we'll cut it. We're gonna pay half, whatever it is. He gets some of his homeboys. I hope he don't boost up the price so he can pay his half and I pay, and then he get a kickback. I don't think he'd do that. If he do, it's okay. Shoot, I ain't not gonna die from it. Okay. Asset capabilities plus use determine future. Our assets right now. Now, think about it. We're at the beginning of a new phase. Not the end of an old phase. We're at the beginning where our dialogue and our discussion and our movement is, we're not at the be prepared to sleep under a bridge phase, because we just didn't have to get that far, right? We're not far enough where we had just, boss man took everything. Okay. All the property we have, 8 pieces of property, we have it here. Okay? He stopped us on the way to fixing it up, right? And so it costs you some time to stay where you are. But we never had to go down into our resources here. And remember California, the Masjid, the property, we're going to charge boss man, we say $150 million. We're going to charge him. If they charge $27 million for what happened right up there, for one killing, we got to let the people understand. Suppose first we lay it out, the whole thing. And now suppose boss man would have run us crazy. And we drove a bomb to the such and such and killed up 5,000 people, right? Or had somebody do it. That wouldn't be our fault. That would be boss man's, right? That would be his fault, because he urged and he cajoled and he pampered and he fixed. And by that time, You see, that's your boss man. That's why we deserve all the problems with our cars, all the stuff with our property, everything. It's been him. 90% of it is him back there causing that type of a problem, right? So we'll be able to show that to the jury. And then we will get whatever we got coming. But it has to be a big number because, see, the time that he's been messing with us and been diverting us, all that is time. We don't say we could have been doing this, but just imagine. If our goal when we started out years ago was to have 50 or 100 masajid in America. Okay, if he stopped us at 10, right, and he eroded all of those till we back down now to 2, we're here in Oakland, or there in Oakland, we're here, right, for as far as he knew. Okay, that means that they haven't been interfering with, all we got to do is even kind of prove that that's what's been going on. And it's a miracle. And you got to remember this thing about delay. Just think about our cases now relating to all the delays, I mean the things that the boss man did to everybody else. And we say, we were not Floyd, what's the name up there? We stuck to our stuff and we held on, right? And we done had 8 times where the police done raided us, right, in California. And they done drug us out of the Masjid half naked, right? And we got all that. Yeah, that's all the stuff. And we got the stuff where if we can get Tufel's phone, on Tufel's phone, Khadijah and them, y'all might have it too, I don't know. Yeah, but when they're at the door, knocking on the door, then they come in and I'm talking to Tufel about it. And I say, this girl got a gun. Y'all got that? We home free. Class over, let's go. No, right? I thought, see, remember they've been stealing my phones. They've been crazy. Remember I wanted you to fix this phone I had? Yeah. They took, see, every phone I have, when I take pictures, I got pictures of all kind of stuff. Okay, all of a sudden the phone don't work anymore and you can't get nothing. Of course, they can get it off of there, but I mean, I'm telling you. So we home free. Don't worry about a thing. If that part is there when I'm talking to Tufel on the phone on November the 4th, right? And I'm saying there's Khadijah just walked in and Mukhtar walked in and she got a gun. She had a gun up in her. That is all on thing. Yeah. We home free, home free. Good God Almighty. I mean, remember, we're always trying to build up stuff. But shoot, stuff will come crawling out of the wall and keep messing around. We home free. If they do it, and I done seen this Negro on TV 15 times the last 2 weeks. The Negro out in Oakland, the one that did Rodney King. Yeah, the lawyer. He's about the same age as I am, old Negro. You mentioned his name the other day. Burris. Yeah. I believe they putting him on so that if anybody catch up with him and remind him of our case, if he want to do it now, he can do it. But we'll be the co-counsel, because I wouldn't trust one of them niggas to do none of the stuff. Oh yeah,
You know,
it's 30. It's 1/3.
one third.
It's 1/3. 33. Yeah, that's common. Here's the point. Like since we don't like we went through this ourselves. If you notice, we done went from 100 million to 150 million. That's to take care of them. If they, because see the way we gonna do this, I'm gonna do some of it myself, and we may let him take care of them or whoever take care of all the legal part, and they're not gonna be nowhere in the ballpark on what I'm going to be saying. You blow the case. I cannot blow in the case. Our goal is to get the information out, not win the case. Their goal is to win the case. And not only that, but them Negroes, they pass out those spots to Negroes. They pass them out. I'm sorry. So all them big Negro money winning niggas, I'm sorry. I mean, I've been doing it so long that it starts to make sense. Anyway, we'll speed up so we can. Okay. Designing organizational structure. In other words, for us right now, okay, technically, we have to, like we said up here, write. So when I get up in the morning, I'm going to get up at a certain time, right? And then I'm going to write. Then I have to do da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And it has no time for, if I have to mess with cars, it throw your whole thing off. So that's what we have to put together, a team that takes care of the cars. The motor pool, we'll call it, whatever it is. Right? Because that's simple. If they keep me worried about cars, that's why I don't never worry about them. I just pull it over and park it. I drive that, And that car drove perfect to Florida, and I took the long way around. Because that's when I wanted to get there. I didn't want to get there for that program. The way them guys been acting. When I had big tables when we started that, whatever it was, years ago, the table would be full of my CDs and what have you. And they would buy them all, and you wouldn't see them no more. That way, if the people was coming to buy certain ones, they would try to get them off the table. I said, no, just when it's over, y'all can, so it'll get around to everybody. But they wanted to get them right away, as many as they can. And when I was in Houston, at the Shia Center down there, and I gave a big talk, I said, and out on the table is those da-da-da-da-da, and guess what? When I walked out there, they was gone. Then I looked around, and the guy, he was sitting right there, his eyes got big when I said certain things, and he run out. And I mean, you get used to doing this stuff, so you can make people do. You can't make Allah makes, but you can encourage them. And the same crew that was here. Hey man, the Southern, we call it the Southern Shia crew, they don't remember that I remembered them from Houston. In Houston, the Iranians had gave them Negroes over $3 million. That's 1980 money. That big shopping center, and people left Cleveland, they left other places, and they converged on Houston. At that time, Houston was the head, They had, have you ever seen any books came from, not Islamic books, free Islamic literature? That book on Hajj and all of them. But the book on Hajj, you remember the book on Hajj by, I'll tell you his name in a minute. All of those, that was a group down there. Way, way back, they called it Free Islamic Literature. So it was the only outlet for Shia literature. Barzagan and all those guys was a part of it. Anyway, hey man, them guys on several occasions, this stuff gets kind of sticky. But one of the people, the daughter got killed and was found there somewhere. And they looked like they had done something they shouldn't have done. And all the time of the program, they was looking. It's not only tight. See, there's other stuff be going on. Yeah. See, there's other stuff be going on, you know. And, you know, our favorite brother with the cars, his mother and sister died in an airplane crash. And I told Brother Tufel about it. He said, whoa. I said, no, look, I don't know how all this stuff works. You know what I mean? Because each person is standing on. But Allah know what you're going to do. I'm telling you, the same person playing with the cars out there, his mama and his sister died in an airplane crash several years ago. And I said, niggas shouldn't play. They look. Shoot, man, the people here, one so-and-so, man, everybody leave. What happened? That was over there on 8th Street. He said, well, is so-and-so still there? I said, yeah, he's still here. He said, oh, all right. He laid back, and the next few years, they was cutting off his leg from sugar diabetes or something. I don't know. This stuff be happening. And I just say, hey, man. That's why I tell niggas, I ain't gonna, when they talk about the tree and play a game, I ain't doing nothing. If something happened to me, it was written. I didn't encourage it to happen. I'm just saying, that's how I've been acting like that, and I ain't doing nothing wrong. If somebody tell you and they got a picture of me doing wrong, say that man looks like Imam Musa, but I don't believe it's him. I don't believe it's him. Why? Because hey man, it's too many. I could sit here all day and drop a little stuff about what's happened to people for playing. You know, they not playing, but same person run out and snatched up the stuff and threw them in the garbage can. 2 weeks later, his daughter was found somewhere. I'm telling you what happened. This stuff happened, and I be remembering this stuff. I be remembering all of it. So I be thinking, I ain't doing nothing. I don't care. The niggas, the white folks, they can do anything they want. I ain't doing it. I ain't doing none of it. None. Absolutely nothing. Hey man, because see, if Allah allow you to escape everything in the universe already, and you don't even know you escaping it till after you done, you say, damn man, I was down in South America doing this. And it don't cost, to get a hit in South America that time cost $20, a professional hit. And I'm strolling around. Hey man, what about this here? What about that? And I'm by myself half the time, and I'm this, that, and other. Doing the stuff I was doing, shoot, you can say what you want. I know it was Allah and his angels saying that boy don't have good sense, so I'm going to look out for him. You know, I'm not saying that Allah speaks and everything, but that's the feeling I have. Is that Allah, he couldn't close his eyes, but if he was an angel or something, he said, "Oh man, he doing that." Right? Look at, do you know what you're doing? You know. So grateful and happiness. You know, I'm 76, and what I was doing, it ain't but 2-3 Negroes got lived that long, and lived is good. You know, it's like when you get the best of Jahiliyyah and the best of Deen. This stuff that be happening every day, it ain't nothing. It's a joke. It is. I be acting like it's a joke, and it is a joke. It's actually a joke. Okay, let me speed up. All I can suggest is that people try to latch on to that type of justifiable fiqh of self-reliance. Asset capabilities, use determine future. Assets, we got assets. Technically we got more assets than other Negroes and we're starving to death. We got more assets. Okay, we fix it up and all of that. So our next plan, like those 2 houses over there, let's put 3 of them over there, and maybe, start over on 8th Street and hook that up. And if don't nobody want to move in, we'll still have them there, you know. Even if they don't want to move in, we have temporary leases for 1 year where different people can move in. But the community we started here, we already have it. All we got to do is keep on holding on. And holding on with the last 10 years of strife, money stealing, diversions, and we ain't even missing a smidget. And then whenever we need something, somebody come up with it, or a lot of it. So why would we worry? Right? Why would be? It's like the people used to say, the Jews, they was always, why don't y'all ask Allah for this? Is Allah's hands tied up? You know, he ain't got nothing to give you. And Beaton gave them, changed them from alcoholics to leaders of the educated world all over the world at that time. You know, took them out of darkness and put them in the light and nur. Okay, I'm gonna wrap up real quick. A deserted Western Front for Eastern Front. You'd have to think Western Front, Eastern Front. We deserted Western Front, California, and came to the Eastern Front here. But the Eastern Front is able to take care of the Western Front. That was strategic. It wasn't. We didn't just stumble over here. In fact, if we were to read military manuals and all of that type of thing, as far as battlefield tactics and what have you, we've outsmarted the white man so much that it's just laughable. It's just don't nobody know it. You know, all the stuff we've used, take Washington, D.C. in order to capture Kansas City. So if you want to go to Kansas City, right? So you take all the land between, you come to the East Coast and get that. You've automatically, if you capture D.C., you've automatically got all the land in between. So you focus on D.C. in order to capture Kansas City. So if you wanted to move to Kansas City, why move to Kansas City? Take D.C. and you'll automatically be within that region. And we've had Masjid and stuff around. Masjid property, base area. Yeah, it's a base area, but it's not like, well, we done said it already. Allah done helped us with our base area. We're right here, and maybe a little tile that's off the floor, a little this, that, and other, but we're here. You know, if you're in a bombed out territory, you can imagine the buildings are bombed and destroyed. There's potholes everywhere, right? So if we just have to fix up a little bit of that, that's okay. No big deal, right? If all we got to do is put a carpet down over there and open up, you know, and clean out the basement. Everything is there right now, right? So we're not sliding down, we're on the way back. Does everybody kind of understand we're on the way back right now. So Eastern survey, dismayed yet intact. Yeah, dismayed yet it's intact. Western big trap. I shall return. Anybody ever heard I shall return before? How about Douglas MacArthur when he got run out of the Philippines, World War II? Yeah, that's I shall return. Hit them where they ain't. You know, in other words, other people were trying to fight the Japanese face to face all the time. He said, hit them where they ain't. He said, go around over here. Where are they? They're there. He said, go, okay, we'll go on and take this. We'll go up there and take all of New Guinea, and we'll cut the Japanese off from all their supplies. So he called it hit them where they ain't, not hit them where they are, because they were slugging it out with Japanese face to face, and them Japanese was wearing them crackers out, boy. He said, hold it. This ain't the kind of, I don't fight no wars like this. Because he was old, mean old white man, but he did have small casualties compared to the gigantic battles he was fighting. He said, I'm going to hit them all right, but I'm going to hit them where they ain't, not where they are. That was what he called his strategy, hit them where they ain't. And that's what we do with Boss Man. We just hit him where he ain't. And tactically, we're going to start now making like all the other, we used to make CDs and write, you know, our As-Sabiquns, and all of that had our main strategies and what we were doing. Well, now we got 10 years or more to catch up. We got to write all of that. That's why we have to have we're going to write all of that now. Yeah, we're going to write what we did, what we're doing, and where we're headed, inshallah. Okay. Western Big Trap. Yeah. Western Big Trap, I shall return. Not that we're trying to play white folks, nothing. Envisioning tactics, Western and Eastern. Well, that covers both philosophies. Okay. Counteroffensive, A. Our psychologicals. Offensive, psychological. We've been doing it all along. And B would be land. That means legal and in court. So our counteroffensive now will be A, psychological offensive. B, we call it land, which is our property and everything. That's legal and that's in the court system. But remember, we're doing it when we want to, not when they wanted us to. Okay. And C, justice offensive. Justice offensive is the whole thing to deal with equilibrium, balance, truth, and for everything that we're doing, the American environment, the world environment is ready to hear where we're coming from. They're ready to hear, because all of last 2-3 years they've been killing black people, and that thing up there in what's the name lasted so long, it was so explicit. And remember, I'm the only person walking around the street with stuff on the record that say Mukhtar went and told the people that I'm armed. I got 2 shotguns, just came. So it says what it was. The police was there with their little tank outside, pointing guns at me. Then they come in the Masjid, and they never found no guns. And in fact, they filed a writ to say that we don't want you to use that in court. No, the defense, them, whatever they was, well, they called it prosecution. They didn't want that to be used. In fact, the judge granted them, but it's on paper, that they couldn't use that because it would cloud the jury's mind, that they said I had a gun. Can you imagine? He said I had a gun. They can shoot niggas for having. Huh?
It's illegal to do it. Like you can't.
You can't do nothing that they had. I beat the case several years ago, and they still arrested me for going in my property. And in the court, they said that he lied about this, that he lied about that, and so it's just okay. But that's handing me, that's me taking the money or the position when I want it, not when they want it. Because you don't know, they might have been trying to knock us out of the box at first. And then it got so far along the way, they said, man, we jammed out, we out of pocket now. And I think that's what happened. At first they thought we hit 1 or 2 of these things, because the way they was headed backed up, they were certain of victory in California. Their kind of victory. They were certain of it. We'll just put them out of the masjid. Just so you've been there only 35 years, so we'll put you out. Just because, the deed's in your name, we'll put you out, right? This is insanity. And that's what they did. I want you to imagine how the court is going to look. Whatever they try to use, you waited too long, well, we'll say the virus was there, and y'all scared me off. The police came here, the FBI came and asked me not to go out there. Whatever they come up with, and then we got scared. So we were scared to go out there. And then when we went out there, we got put in jail 3 times. 4 times! The last trip, I went to jail 4 times. Can you imagine? Shoot. After this, they'll mess with Negroes that they raise. They won't mess with none of us no more. Yeah, because we done already slapped the spit out of them. It's gonna be worse for Boss Man. Yeah. A counteroffensive, DC mobilize assets, resource management. Okay, so Tuesday when we get together, we want to form a team. Let's call it a motor pool, whatever. But if you want to learn how to do all this, well, we start by doing it, right? Because remember, as I move up, everybody else is going to have to move right behind. They're going to have skill. So if you get 50 cars fixed, you'll have skill and patience. You know what I mean? Discipline. All the stuff that used to make you mad and nervous or something, it won't make you nervous after a few years of messing with Boss Man. Or we'll make him quit. Because as long as it's me, he'll keep doing it. But if everybody else is learning and looking, that can't happen. That's too soon. or that, right? If everybody's looking at it, then he's either going to have to increase it, which will make everybody evolve and grow, or he'll have to stop. But they already seen that stuff before. So anyway, we think about boss man a lot. We think about boss man now, where we're going to slap him at. That's the main thing. We don't think about boss man as being mean. He got this power. When we leave here and we go back to the house, we're going to think about, now, where can we slap boss man upside the head? Where? Evidently, something's going on, because that's what we're doing every week. He ain't doing nothing to us. If the car go tick, tick, so the car goes tick. Everybody see it, right? Everybody saw it. When everybody sees something, if you're a little kid and you say some ghosts live in that building, or some monsters, the standard B movie back in my time was a little kid saw these big monsters or something that live over there, and the people don't believe him. Till just at the right time, one guy believes a little kid and they fight off the monsters, stuff like that. Okay. Well, just think about us now. Hey, this is the big monster, this is what's happening. Ain't nobody paid no attention, right? But guess what? Now, everybody paying attention, and it's not attached to us. It's attached to something else, right? But it is attached to us because it's black people being oppressed by the police. But not one. This is a serious history. You got to remember, they've done this over and over and over again. It can't be a mistake, or it can't be that we didn't know what we was doing, right? You were trying to do that. You did that, boss man, over and over again. And we wanted the world to see it, so we had to put up, whether we tell them or not, to put up with this foolishness to show you what's happening, and to also show you that if you stick, you can do it too. At the same time, boss man it's not that he's losing, boss man has lost. You got to remember, Allah not going to have us, if we serious wasting our energy and time, Allah going to slide us in there just at the right time, right? Because it's only a handful, right? So Allah going to slide you in at the right time that they say, we didn't know it was nothing like that going on all the time. We didn't know nobody, because I don't know how they keep this stuff up. We didn't know who said what and what. They ain't going to, right, have heard none of this, right? And all of a sudden, here it is, we told you all the time. For the Muslims, here it is, we told you all along, right? Even for some of our friendly people, here it is, we told you that boss man is a liar. Indian said he speak with a forked tongue. And then you, Zarif and them, wanted to believe him. You boss man, boy, you really we're gonna give you a medal for cluckery or clownery or something. It's gotta be something silly. Did he gonna believe the white man? Right? After his history. Goodness gracious alive. Okay, are there any questions or comments? Didn't mean to take so long. Are there any questions or any comments?
Yes, but the sister that was talking about, that reached out about the Ramadan program,
Mm-hmm.
she did say that her group was okay with tafsir. She just wanted to know what was like did you have a preference for what particular verses or surah you'd like to do a tafsir on? She'd like to put that on the same day. You know, the Jews would be read.
Okay, now what does she want to do now?
The particular, whatever tafsir or you wanted to give on a particular surah or a particular set of ayats, She wanted to see if she can line it up with that particular day of Ramadan, the Jews.
Okay. All right. Well, remember, this is Masjid al-Islam Ramadan. Most of the time, we're going to be out. We're going to get around as much as we can this Ramadan. And this thing keep going and coming, and now it's on the upswing, right? That they get more people is dying again. Okay, so I'm not no fraidy cat, but I ain't gonna let them run me in to get no shot. But they keep this is the 50th time they done called for a shot. Eventually, I may wait them out a little while to see if don't nobody die from it. Huh?
We got tested. That's where I was Friday.
Oh, okay.
I did get tested, among other things, but they came at me basically saying, well, if you live in the 8th ward, they giving out vaccines.
Right.
Like, nah, sorry.
Yeah, I had someone knock on the door.
Well, I had them send a thing over there. The guy knocked on the door. Might be because
Yeah, they knocked on the door asking, any senior citizens live here? Nah.
no, that was I sent everything that they talk. I'm gonna send them through there. They might be back tomorrow or the next day. They wanted me to go. They had an appointment for me, and I ducked out on it, and I keep ducking out. Because I don't, there's something about it. I don't feel that comfortable about it. I mean, I can't prove nothing. But boss man, he give you delayed action and, stuff like that. So anyway, are there any more comments? So whatever she wanted, we'll work on that in a day or so. Although it's only about 9 or 10 days, is that right, to Ramadan? Is it next Tuesday or Wednesday? Something like that. Yeah, this is the 4th, so that's about right. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, we'll finalize it, but we'll at most do one night a week of Ramadan for food and soon as we pray, we'll be heading wherever we go because we want to get there before Isha, and whether we stay a while and after, we're going to be hanging out because we're going to use this to raise funds. Then after the Eid, we'll go on out to California and get busy out there. Yeah. So that's the basic idea, is to, but we're not in no big, we're going to have the Eid, but other than that, and the other thing too, we don't have to have the Eid on the day. We'll do the Eid on the 3rd day. Yeah, on the 3rd day, because no matter what they do, first, 2nd day, we'll do it because you have 3 days, and this is an emergency time because of the health, because of and because it's an emergency. Our condition is an emergency condition. So wherever we can go, we're gonna go there and raise as much as we can. Because now we're raising a war chest, to fight. That's what we're doing. We're raising a war chest to fight. So we'll have the options at our own disposal. We can take whatever option. If we want to stay here, we can stay here. If we want to go, we can go. If we want to leave, we can buy a car, rent a car, do whatever. You know what I mean? We'll have options. And that's what we need, that's what we want the funds for, is to expand our options so we don't have to fight a restrained battle. So, is that all?
Yeah, that's everything.
Okay, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.